we made the decision to bring back the Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament after a 3-year COVID-initiated hiatus. Since that time, we have planned and worked to ensure that the 2023 event will be the greatest one yet. And then the events of October 7th took place. In a matter of a few short hours, the world changed. Our lives changed. Our views and our viewpoints changed. When the Yom Tov ended and we had the opportunity for the first time to turn on the news, we discovered the horrific atrocities that reflected the worst event in the history of the modern state of Israel. And over the next week, while we watched our brothers and sisters attend funerals, while we watched our sons and daughters don their uniforms and report for duty, we wondered if having this event at this time was still the right thing to do. How could we possibly enjoy ourselves when our brothers and sisters were fighting for their lives and ours? How could we possibly laugh and have fun, even for a moment, and allow ourselves to lose focus on what was happening in our homeland? But then we realized Hamas's unadulterated evil and unrelenting hatred did not end with the indescribable tragedy of those whose lives were viciously taken on October 7th. Hamas's objective was not simply to kill our brothers and sisters. It was to divide the Jewish people, to diminish Jewish connectivity, to decrease Jewish life, to once and for all end the Jewish nation. And while the brave men and women of the IDF deserve all of the credit for their unparalleled sacrifices, perhaps we too, in a much smaller way, have the opportunity to stand up and stand against Hamas, to stand up and stand against hate, to stand up and stand against those forces that seek to divide us. Perhaps we have the unique opportunity to join together Jewish men from across the country, from different backgrounds and from different experiences. Perhaps we have the unique opportunity at this most important of times to forge together, to develop friendships and strengthen Jewish awareness, to learn from one another, to pray with one another, to develop a greater sense of Jewish identity and Jewish pride. Perhaps we have the unique opportunity to celebrate who we are as individuals, but even more, what we are as a people, as Knesset Yisrael. And perhaps we have the very unique opportunity to stand together 300 strong and declare through our actions and our voices for the entire world to hear that no matter what you do, no matter what you try, Am Yisrael Chai. May we use our very special weekend to spread awareness, to forge bonds, to fight hatred and divisiveness, and together to strengthen Klal Yisrael.
lane, up over defenders, it's in! What an amazing shot!
In only 10 days, the attention of Jewish hoops fans across the country and around the world will focus on Memphis, Tennessee, and the 14th annual Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament. 16 teams representing 10 states will compete this year for the prestigious national title. More than 50,000 viewers will tune in live, and more than 1,000 spectators will be on hand. But who will emerge as the 2023 national champion? Will the Midwest regain its status as a national powerhouse? Or will national bragging rights be an East Coast, West Coast affair? Will the Showtime stylings of the LA Stars withstand the high-octane play of their New York counterparts? Will the boys from the Sunshine State bring the title to their sandy beaches? Or will we have a back-to-back-to-back champion for the first time in tournament history? So many questions, so much excitement, and it all begins here. So let's start without any further delay. The 16th seed in the 14th annual Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament. From Atlanta, Georgia, the Atlanta Jewish Academy Jaguars. Coach Lamont Watkins returns to Memphis to lead perennial favorites, the AJA Jaguars. The Jags have participated in 13 of 14 invitational events. Atlanta brings an exciting, fast-paced style of basketball to this year's Invitational and intends to push the tempo on both sides of the court. Led by senior forward Idan Eyal and 6'2" junior Zach Edgestein, the Jags look to make some noise and prove some naysayers wrong in the Tier 2 bracket. With the 15 seed, from New York City, New York, the MTA Lions. One of the great programs in yeshiva basketball history, the Yeshiva University High School for Boys returned to Memphis after a 10-year absence. With their history of dominance, MTA can never really be considered a true underdog. But there can be no denying this year's Lions are rebuilding for the future. They are probably still a year or two away from competing in the Tier 1 bracket. But don't sleep on the Lions. Led by celebrated Yeshiva League head coach Ushi Sullivan, MTA will no doubt be well coached and well disciplined. The real question rests with star point guard Kobe Wolk. Coming off an injury, questions abound as to whether he will play. And if he does, how productive can he truly be? Only time will tell. Without Wolk, so much will fall on shooting guard Daniil Barron and transfer Rafi Berger. But if they are healthy, MTA has the firepower to turn some heads and get on a run, possibly a deep run in the Tier 2 bracket. This year's number 14 seed, hometown favorites, the Cooper Yeshiva High School Maccabees. The hometown favorite Cooper Macs come off a disappointing 22-23 campaign. Add to that the loss of team leaders D.R. Wogan and Zachariah Lichter, and the Macs could face an uphill battle right out of the gates. But new head coach and Israeli All-Star Kobe Pinto has assembled a group that intends to make some real noise in this year's event. Led by returning seniors sharpshooter Adam Felsher and the big man in the middle, Yosef Vanderwald. Plus, a core of diaper dandies in the duo of Jack Kampf and Benny Frieden in the front court, and the Macs start quite the formidable squad. Though the Macs will have their work cut out for them this year, we expect them to be a real competitor in the Tier 2 bracket. The number 13 seed in this year's National Invitational. From Ocean, New Jersey, the Hillel Yeshiva High School Heat. The boys from Deal returned to Memphis for the 4th time in school history. And while Hillel's dominance in the New York Yeshiva League has waned a bit over the past decade, Hillel believes this season could be the start of something special. Eli Braha and Charles Sheyo lead Hillel's up-tempo style of play. And like any dominant Sephardic team, the Heat play incredibly hard on both sides of the ball and pressure. With the loss of transfer Moses Smekey to Magen David, Hillel will be working this year to find their rhythm and their scoring. But anyone who sleeps on the Heat will inevitably get burned. Hillel is a true contender in the Tier 2 bracket. This year's number 12 seed. From Skokie, Illinois, the Rabbi Oscar Z. Fasman Yeshiva High School, the Yeshiva. Invitational favorites, the Fasman Yeshiva, come to Memphis with new head coach and longtime Ida Crown coaching legend, Sid Singer. Fasman returns several key pieces from last year's squad, but perhaps none as valuable as star guard Adir Amster, who sat out most of last season with an ACL injury. Amster is back, and Coach Singer expects him to be back scoring 20-plus points per game from the first tip-off. But this Fasman team is far from one-dimensional. They have solid talent at every position and strong leadership in point guard Yoni Silverstein and small forward Eddie Vladimirsky. The Yeshiva's roster is deep and brings experience and talent off the bench. The Yeshiva is motivated to prove something, and we expect them to make a deep run in the Tier 2 bracket. This year's 11 seed. From Los Angeles, California, the Milken Community School Wildcats. One of the country's great programs, Milken returns to the Cooper Invitational for the first time since their quadruple overtime championship loss to Ryan Terrell's Valley Torah Wolfpack. While the Wildcats would love to avenge that championship loss this year's squad might not have the firepower to make it all the way to Championship Sunday. They lost 6 seniors, the core of last year's squad, and are young and small in the front court. But never count out a Coach Thomas Blunt team, especially when they have size. And this year's Wildcats might be the biggest team in the field. 6'8" center Benjamin Feiner and 6'5" power forward Jonathan Kornfeld will be a handful for opposing teams. With the right matchups, we expect Milken to compete hard in the Tier 2 bracket. Making their first appearance in the Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament. From Brookline, Massachusetts, this year's number 10 seed, the Maimonides School MCATs. In their first appearance ever in Memphis, Hall of Fame coach Ed Gelb expects his MCATs to be a tough matchup for anyone they face. And he should certainly know. A 5-time Sarachek championship coach and a 29-year Yeshiva High School veteran, Coach Gelb is one of the best at evaluating talent. But the MCATs will have to shake off what was a mediocre 18-8 season and a very disappointing finish at Sarachek. Perhaps last year's underachievement is what fuels this year's championship aspirations. 6'5" center Nate Weinstock returns to lead this year's MCATs. His length and athleticism will pose all kinds of problems for other teams. An experienced playmaker, Ronan Gurwitz, will once again run the offense and lock down opposing point guards on defense. Mimo has a lot to prove and should be a favorite in the Tier 2 bracket. Rounding out the anticipated Tier 2 bracket at number 9, from Lawrence, New York, the Hebrew Academy of the Five Towns in Rockaway, Hafter Hawks. Hafter had a relatively underwhelming season in 2022 that neither made the top 25 nor competed at Sarachek. But that might be because they were all juniors and were missing one of their team leaders in Kevin Levy. This year should be very different. All of those juniors now return as seniors, ready to make their mark on the Jewish basketball world. Hafter is led by one of the all-time greats, Joey Honig, and brings the Hawks to Memphis ready to make a statement. Kevin Levy, the shooter, big bucket getter, is back and healthy. Sam Siri, who led the Hawks in scoring last year, returns for his senior campaign. And the big man in the middle, 6'5", Peter Drucker, is ready to impose his will. With a stacked lineup of teams, Hafter finds itself slipping to the number 9 slot. But don't sleep on the Hawks. As the number 6 seed, they won the national championship in Memphis. Things could be a little tough this year for a repeat performance like that one, but we feel confident that the Hawks will be competitive, likely even playing for a Tier 2 championship. The first team in this year's Tier 1 bracket, at the number 8 seed, from Boca Raton, Florida, the Katz Yeshiva High School Storm. Finishing on a tear last season, and as the number 8 ranked team in the country, the Storm believe that the best is yet to come. Led by returning star 6'5" center Zach Izaguyev and guards Ben Aiden and Jack Cowellbloom, the Storm look to avenge close losses to Valley Torah and North Shore from the 2022 Sarachek. But the dynamic duo, brothers and coaches Ellie and Gaby Barretts, do not shy away from the big games. They welcome those opportunities. As the number 8 seed, the Storm will have to go through the top teams to reach Championship Sunday. But with a chip on their shoulders, they firmly believe the big dogs they will play should be very concerned. This year's number 7 seed, from Teaneck, New Jersey, the Torah Academy of Bergen County, TABC Storm. Coming off a 14-11 regular season and a disappointing Tier 2 showing in Sarachek, TABC believes this could prove to be a very special year. The Storm returns 4 of their 5 seniors and rounds out their roster with proven winners who have moved up from their uber-talented championship JV team. Coach Oz believes that All-Stars Eyal Kinderlehrer and Eitan Sulamanev could be as dynamic as any duo in this year's tournament. Add to them 6'4" Aiden Gurin and a stable of thoroughbreds, and this Storm team can be very dangerous. Most coaches in the Metropolitan Yeshiva League see TABC as a strong contender for the Yeshiva League Championship. So why the number 7 seed? First, the depth of this year's Invitational is unmatched, and the quality of play will surpass any other pre- or mid-season invitational tournament in the country. But equally, TABC remains young and untested. JV stardom does not always translate into varsity success, and this team is only just beginning to play together. Lots of questions for this squad. But if they can put it together, the Storm may prove to be the bells of this ball, marching all the way to Championship Sunday and retaking the title they won in the first ever Cooper Invitational event. This year's number 6 seed, from Davie, Florida, the Posnack Jewish Day School Rams. The boys from Davie returned to Memphis, having competed for the Tier 2 championship in their past 2 appearances. But this may very well be the year that Posnack plays for the overall title. With the core of last year's exceptional team returning, the 12-4 Rams finished last year as the number 7 team in the nation. And this year, they should be even stronger. Led by Gidon Greenberg, a collegiate caliber player, Jaden Shear, and Edan Weiss, Posnack is talented, disciplined, and experienced. A truly lethal combination. The Rams don't care what seed they are or who they play. They work hard from the tip-off to the final buzzer. We expect the Rams to make noise in the middle of the Tier 1 bracket. And now we reach the top 5. This year's number 5 seed, from Brooklyn, New York, the Yeshiva of Flatbush Falcons. The Falcons might be the most interesting team in this year's event. Coming off a mediocre 11-7 season, they completely retooled. New coach, new system, new players. And if they can put it all together, make some room in the trophy case back on Avenue J in Brooklyn. In his first year at the helm, Coach Matthew Melk brings more than 20 years of elite coaching experience in some of the top programs in the nation. DeMatha High School in Maryland, Rainey High School in New Jersey, and most recently Manasquan High School, where his team went 28-4 and won the state title. The Falcons are a special team, with perhaps one of the most talented players in the Yeshiva League, explosive big man Benny Keita. Keita defends around the rim, blocks shots, and then runs the court with ease, stopping on a dime for a jumper or taking it to the rack for a two-handed throwdown. But Flatbush is much more than just Keita. Isaac Cooper, Ronnie Shaya, Joe Shama are floor leaders who general this up-tempo, fast-paced play. The Falcons have plenty of help off the bench and can go 10 deep. If Flatbush can get into the open floor and play their style, the Falcons will be a nightmare for opposing teams. But the real test will come when they match up against teams that are just as fast and just as disciplined. Do they have the experience to win and advance? Only time will tell. But in any event, the Falcons are certainly a team to watch in the Tier 1 bracket. This year's number 4 seed, from Deerfield, Illinois, the Rochelle Zell Jewish High School Tigers. Competing in one of the most challenging districts in the country and scheduling games against some of the most competitive schools in the state of Illinois, Rochelle Zell played their way last season to the state's regional championship. The Tigers return all 5 of the key players from that team, including MVP All-American candidate Jake Miller, 4-year starter Jesse Shapiro, and 6'3" shooting guard Ophir Zatini. With the key components back again for another season, depth at almost every position, and the tenacious full-court pressure for which Rochelle Zell is known, this Tiger team is a true contender for the Invitational's national championship. The number 3 seed in this year's Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament. From Brooklyn, New York, back-to-back defending champions, the Magen David Yeshiva Warriors. Back-to-back current defending invitational champions, Magen David returns the core of what was an elite team in 22-23. Led once again by Coach Ike Dweck, one of the nation's most prolific Jewish high school coaches, the Warriors bring to Memphis last year's dynamic team. Only this year, they are 1 year stronger, 1 year more experienced, and perhaps even more dangerous. Led by Mark Smarter, Josh Chabot, and team captain Philip Schur, the Warriors smother opponents with full court pressure and can score quickly and in bunches. We cannot ignore the fact that Magen David lost second-team All-American 6'4" Asher Malamed. What the Warriors may have lost with Malamed's graduation, they have more than made up with in phenom transfer Moses Smicky. Smicky can play and defend all 5 positions and can slide seamlessly into Magen David's run-and-gun style of play. Magen David is ready and comes to Memphis with one goal in mind, its 3rd Cooper Invitational title. And then there were 2. This year's number 2 seed, from Valley Village, California, the Valley Torah Yeshiva High School Wolfpack. Valley Torah comes off another incredible season, finishing as the number 1 team in the country and the back-to-back Sarachek champions. The team returns the majority of its squad, who now have all played together in Coach Schwartzberg's system for 4 years. But this team steps on the court without first-team All-Americans Johnny Dan and Noah Mayahus. How will they make up for those losses? Coach Schwartzberg is confident. Ethan List and Gabriel Rabibo have already proven they can step right in, leading Valley Torah on another title run. As 3-year starters, they have played on the biggest stages and have the experience and poise to lead this stacked team. Add to that 2-year starters, Levin Bannon and Ariel Kahonatev, and you have deep talent and genuine experience at every position. Valley Torah is not coming to Memphis for a runner-up trophy. They intend to start and end the season with national titles. And that brings us to the number 1 overall seed in the 2023 Cooper Yeshiva High School National Invitational Tournament. From Great Neck, New York, the North Shore Hebrew Academy Lions. North Shore finished last season as the undefeated champions of the New York Metropolitan Yeshiva League and the number 2 team in the nation. And while it's hard to replace second-team All-American David Orbach, the Lions believe that this year's team is even better. 2-time championship MVP Ben Abizadeh returns completely healed from a summer thumb injury and ready to pick up exactly where he left off. And all-star point guard Jonah Carmeli's shin splints are fully healed, and he is cleared to play. With these guys at full capacity, and Jordan Zarka posing mismatches at multiple positions, North Shore will be tough to beat by any opponent. But what makes this team even scarier than last year's squad is its depth of experienced talent. North Shore returns 10 juniors who were champions as JV players and champions last year as varsity players. This team has been there time and time again and knows exactly what it takes to be standing when the buzzer sounds. We look to the Lions to bring home this year's national championship. With the seedings now released, log on to the Invitational's website at www.cooperinvitational.com to see the details of the first day's matchups and game schedule. While you're on the website, don't forget to enter your bracket in the 2023 National Bracket Challenge. We look forward to seeing you all very soon down here in Memphis.